breathless irony. "Men learn always, and always they build higher. But my poor toes will be frozen." He danced about grotesquely in the slush. "You are a hardy race, Court, to walk about in these skimpy togas." Court was glancing about swiftly. "Come in here," he said. He hurried toward a nearby shop. He had seen that the window was broken and a burglar alarm was clanging loudly from within. That explained the medley of noises he had heard from the hospital. Hundreds of burglar alarms, all over New York, were screaming. The mobs must have looted during their flight. This men's clothing shop had certainly been looted, judging by its appearance. Court could understand why property rights didn't mean much just now. He guided Li Yang and Scipio to the various departments and helped them outfit themselves with suitable clothing. "Breeches and boots will be best, I think," he suggested. "We may have hard going. Pick out large-sized boots, or you'll blister your feet in an hour." It was difficult to find clothing that fitted the gigantic Carthaginian, and even harder to equip Li Yang, but at last the task was finished. Completely clothed, even to fleece-lined gloves, the three returned to the street. Now they needed food and drink. Down the avenue a little way was an automat. Court led them into it, pausing at the entrance to examine a motionless, shrunken body that lay there. It was the corpse of a man, emaciated and pallid, frozen rigid. It was oddly shriveled, which Court recognized as the stigmata of plague victims. Though the man had certainly been dead since the evacuation of New York, there was no sign of decomposition. "Draining of vital energy means absolute sterility. No germs or microbes. That's logical," Court muttered. "At least, there would be no danger of a pestilence." He smiled crookedly. Pestilence. There was nobody to be harmed by it anyway. A radio in the automat was humming noisily. Court hesitated, still inhibited by a lifetime of conditioning. But he went to the change desk and appropriated a handful of nickels. Supplying the others with trays, he carefully selected foods that appeared still edible. The coffee spigot ran a tar-colored, icy fluid, but it was somewhat better than the sour milk and stale water. Court went to the radio and adjusted it. Then he joined the others at one of the round little tables. "News," he said, nodding at the box that was strange to them. "I'll translate." "Static is becoming increasingly troublesome as the plague grows," the radio blared. "The electrical energy emitted by she-carriers interferes with broadcasting. European shortwave transmission is impossible. The transoceanic cables have failed. From Washington, D.C. comes the latest European news, brought by Clipper across the Atlantic. The plague seems to have concentrated its force so far in the Western Hemisphere, though its strength is increasing gradually in Europe. Ports are crowded as mobs try to storm their way onto ships outward bound. There is a feeling that on the high seas is safety. This is untrue. The Hozima Maru, a passenger ship, was today washed upon the coast at Point Reyes above San Francisco. Spectators reported that the only living beings aboard were several carriers." In grim undertones, Court translated. "The eastern seaboard is still being evacuated," the voice went on. "The United States is under martial law. As yet, the plague remains a mystery, though all over the world scientists are working night and day to check it. A scientific congress has been called at The Hague to convene tomorrow at noon. We are still receiving reports about the mysterious golden airship which first appeared in Central Park, New York, 2 weeks ago. Since then it has landed 8 times, always in a sparsely populated area. Unconfirmed reports state that men and women have been forced to enter the ship. 2 hours ago, according to San Francisco station KFRC, the ship landed in the Berkeley Hills." Court's voice rose excitedly as he translated. Scipio sat back with a grunt, and the Oriental pursed his red lips. "So, Thordred's still on Earth. Li Yang rubbed his fat hands together. Good, Court. There are marvels of science in that golden ship, all the wonders of Ardath's great civilization. If you can get your hands on them. Court frowned. As soon as Thordred finishes recruiting the people he needs to start a new life on a different planet, he'll vanish forever. The worst of it is, he's drained my mind, taken all my knowledge. Everything I know, I share with him now. But I've got to get back to my Wisconsin lab. I have apparatus there that will enable me to construct a weapon or two that might give me a chance against Thordred. But till I get to the lab, I can't even locate the golden ship. Then why do we wait here? Scipio thrust back his chair and stood up, towering incongruously in the gleaming shininess of the automat. Let us hurry. They went out. Behind them, the radio blared. Shall keep broadcasting as long as we are able. The city is entirely evacuated. We are barricaded in this station and shall remain here until our power fails, or until... This is WOR, Newark, New Jersey. All listeners are warned to leave their homes immediately and... Fifth Avenue lay silent under a white mantle. Snow had fallen within the past 24 hours. The sky, however, was blue and cloudless. Singularly eerie was the silence that lay over New York, made more horrible by the mutter of radios and the distant jarring of alarms. These too would die when the power failed. There were bodies in the streets, most of them white mounded hummocks under the snow. Hundreds of automobiles had been wrecked. A huge bus lay on its side beside an overturned garbage truck. Twice they saw carriers, shining pallid ovals of glowing radiance, floating toward them. Each time, Court led his companions into buildings, and through a roundabout course of passages and stairways that led them to safety. The subway might be safer, he mused, but there may be carriers down there, and the power's still on, of course. Court did not mention his fear of the carnage he might discover underground. Yet, curiously, the plague had left little horror in its wake. It was far too fantastically unreal. The bombs and shrapnel of war would have left blood and ruin. But there was only white silence, and bodies that were less like corpses than cold statues of marble. Here. Court halted by a parked automobile. No, there's no gas. He frowned, after a glance at the dashboard gauge. Come on. Scipio was peering into a window. Abruptly, he kicked nigh, and the glass fell in clattering shards. The Carthaginian reached through the gap and brought out a cavalry saber in its scabbard. It's light enough, he grunted, balancing the weapon in his hand. But it's sharp. We may need this. He fastened it to his belt while Li Yang was peering down the street. Court, the Oriental called. What is it? A carrier. I see it. Swiftly, Court guided his companions around the corner. They turned west from Fifth Avenue into 58th Street. Half a block down, they paused at sight of two more carriers coming toward them. Court glanced around. On his right was a street blocked with a mass of automobile wreckage. The tower of Rockefeller Plaza rose into the sky. On his left was the entrance of an office building. But through the glass doors, Court could see that the lobby was strewn with bodies, struck down as they tried to escape the onrushing plague. Court wondered with a strange twinge of pity how many of them had been ready for death. Probably none. He came to himself abruptly. There was no time for philosophizing. The carriers were closing in upon them from both sides. Scipio pointed to the side street. There, we can climb over. Wait! Court's sharp command halted the others on the curb. Here's a car. A large black sedan was parked a few feet away. Two bodies lay near it, a man's and a woman's. The girl, scarcely more than a child, lay in a pitiful little huddle on the running board, Her blonde hair whitened with snow.